So hello and thank you for joining today's Lunch and Learn. I'm Jordan Sloop, your host from Kentik Marketing. Our topic for today is use data to dig into the operation of ISP networks. Our presenter is Kentik's Director of GTM Strategy, Nina Bargetson. So in today's Lunch and Learn, Nina will review how to know if you're on the right track to meet your service objectives and how to optimize your network KPIs. So this is a Lunch and Learn, so we want this to be interactive. So we know while the presentation is going on, we ask you to keep yourself on mute, but this is solely to reduce any background noise. If you do have any questions or comments, please go ahead and take yourself off mute. Again, like I said, we'd like this to be more conversational and interactive. If you don't want to take yourself off mute, you can also go ahead and write questions in the chat. We'll be monitoring that and we'll have some questions at the end of the presentation as well. So with that, I'll pass it on to you, Nia.
Okay, thank you very much, Jordan, and hi everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm very happy to see you all. And I'm going to be talking a bit about first a little bit about what is the KPIs that we're looking at today when we're running a network. And then after that, dig into some of those KPIs and about how can we help everybody make it easier to actually meet them. And then I've found the right button to get the slideshow going. So if we go very far up in the helicopter, all the companies and all of us, what we really care about is, our customers, it's getting our customers, it's keeping our customers, and then keeping our cost under control. All in all, that when it comes to it, that is what we think about. And and what everybody cares about. So if we dig a little bit deeper into customers and keeping customers when you're a service provider or an ISP, what customers today care about is not so much what we're selling them. It's more about what we're selling them is making them able to do. So they don't care about the bandwidth, they don't care about the cool technology we're using. They really care about getting to what they want to have on the internet when we're selling them access to the internet. So in order to keep our customers, we have to make sure that they can always get to what they want. So the purpose of the service they're buying from us, that would be available whenever they want to use it. So that comes down to the KPI uptime, and a lot of this will revolve around that. But which uptime are we talking about? It's the service uptime. It's the uptime of the availability of what the customer want to use on the internet, and not so much the uptime of our devices or the uptime of a random connection in our network or a connection to the network. Of course, the customer's connection have to be up, but everything else doesn't really matter. What matters is that they can reach the service when they want. So how can we secure that they do that? Well, we can make sure that there's a short path to the services the customers care about, and that we know that path and we know it really well, and that it's reliable. And we can make sure that we can't really do anything about the uptime from the top service providers, if that is the services that our customers care about. But we can know about it, and we can make sure that we can mitigate what happens when something is up with that uptime. And also we can protect our network. And finally, we can make sure that when something is broken, we can fix it really fast. So these are sort of the elements that I believe will help you contribute to have a high uptime for the services that your customers care about. And most of the time today, I will be focusing on the first one, which is the digital supply chain. But we will touch on the other ones as well. So when we look at the supply chain, we really need to first understand what services do our customers care about. And in the Kentik tool, we can help by tracking the over-the-top services that the customers are used. And also when using other tools to figure out the amount of traffic from different service providers or different services that run on our network, we can measure the volume of the traffic. But the volume of the traffic, that's the thing that's important for you when you build the network and when you dimension the network and for your cost control. But it's not really that important for the customers. Well, it is for the customers who are using it, but a high volume doesn't necessarily mean that it's a lot of customers that are using it, because it could be a really low volume service. So we need to make sure, find a way to figure out how many of the subscribers are actually using the services, and those will be the critical ones that we need to explore. So if we look at this screen where I picked a more detailed view of the OTT services running on our demo network, you can see that the highest volume is the video traffic and the export traffic. But in reality, the most users is, well, it's a Kentik service on this one, or a PlayStation if we go outside of our own little world. So more things to look at is more than volume, but more importantly, how big a portion the critical services can be defined by the amount of users that are using it. So once we have identified those, then we can have a look at how are they actually served. Because the over-the-top services can be using many different sources of the traffic, and the flow analytics will help us determine where they come from. And the OTT service tracking engine that Kentik has made makes it easy for you to figure out what the critical services are served from. And you can see here, if we go and we dive into and look at PlayStation, we can see that PlayStation is served using several different CDNs, content delivery networks, Akamai, Fastly, Limelight, and Lumen, and some Amazon and AWS traffic. So this tells us that we both need to make sure that we know about the services, but really we need to make sure that our path and our connectivity to these particular content delivery networks are in order and are in a good place. What we can see on this screen as well is that some of it is served over transit, some of it is served, and we can go into another diagram showing it, is transit, and some of it is embedded caching, and some of it is over peering. And I want to talk about a little bit about embedded caching. What that means is that the CDN will give you, as a network, servers that you can put into your network where you want the source of the traffic to be. There are different ways that you can get in touch with them, but usually on the website, they will just, there's a sign up form and you can sign up. And then it's a collaboration with the CDN and you on how many servers and where you want to put them. But they take care of all the shipping and you'll just put them in your network. So when should you do that? When does it make sense to be part of that program? Well, it makes sense if you need the source of the traffic come into your network in locations where you cannot connect to those networks by peering or transit. So do you have some remote locations that are not in a data center where everybody else is? That's where you can use, and you can put the servers in with a good result. Putting them into the same data center where you can where you have access to direct peering to the content delivery network, can make sense, but often it doesn't make sense because you might as well just have a direct connection over, and then it's a cross connect and not a full rack of servers that you need to provide. All right, moving on. So yeah, I was talking about Akamai, and Akamai is one of the providers where you can have an embedded solution. So now we have now you have the content delivery network well connected to your network, but you still would not necessarily know when something goes wrong before your customers do. So the next thing that we can start thinking about is, can we monitor the performance of the content delivery network and get signals before your customer will figure out or will feel that anything is wrong. So you can then set up tests from locations inside your network using private agents that we can provide for you, and then test on the particular addresses of the content network that you can see in your flow analysis that is serving your customers. Or you can actually let Kentik help, and they will suggest which addresses are the most important to monitor. Then you will get the warnings and into your system, so you will know before that the service goes bad, that you will see that there is a degradation, and you will be able to see whether you need to mitigate that, or if you can mitigate it. So, and here's an example of a test of Akamai. And I see there's a comment. Yeah, that is true that there's often a traffic requirement before the CDNs will provide servers. I wasn't aware that Akamai had 10 gig. That's high, I think. But yeah, we can discuss that. So another use case for the synthetic testing that I was talking about before is also testing whether you're getting what you want, what you are expecting from your transit providers and from the peerings that you have set up. Using synthetic testing to test locations in specific ASNs that you care about will again tell you whether your traffic is routed as expected, or if there is anything happening in the network before it affects your customers' experience of their services. So here's an example of, some monitoring that we are doing with Comcast, but it would be, and I would recommend that that's a way of making sure that you get the quality of your transit provider that you want. I'm sorry, I have a little bit in my throat, so I stammer a bit. When selecting, if your monitoring is then showing you're not quite getting what you want from your transit provider or from your peering, how can you figure out to find a better transit provider? We have just launched the market intelligence tool, and this is a tool where you can see which service providers have the biggest reach, or which service providers is covering most of particular geographical areas, if that is what you are interested in. You can also in this tool see a bit more about how other networks are connected, but the ranking will show you at least the candidates for a good transit provider with respect to the connectivity of other services that you are interested in, or just in services that have a good reach. So I talked before about monitoring the CDNs that the services your customers are using were delivered from. And then if one of those tests shows that there's something wrong, how can you quickly figure out whether it's the service provider of the over-the-top service that has a problem or whether it's you that has a problem? With that, we have global agents, and we have a predefined set of tests of the most popular over-the-top services, and anybody can actually propose more services to be added, and you can add it yourself in the tool. Where the global agents here are testing the services from a number of locations throughout the world. So it is a way that we will then show if there's a general problem with the service or whether the service problem that you were detecting from the private agent test is actually something pointing to your network. And you can then dive into the data that you're getting from that test and see where the problem is. And I see we have a question. So it's possible in the way that you can see the service providers, which customers that we have. The tool is showing rankings, and then it is showing more data about who is buying from who and who is peering with who. The peering algorithm is still being developed, so it's a somewhat selective list of peerings that are in the tool, but the customer paths we are pretty certain about. But it's so what you can do is that you can look at the content provider and you can see who they buy transit from. But that doesn't necessarily tell you anything about how the network, how the traffic is coming to your network. For that, you will need the flow tool. So if I go back and show the digital supply chain, this is where you will get that information. Looking at the flow. Market intelligence alone will just give you the candidates, but given that a lot of the content providers is using many paths and is distributed all over the place, the list of who they're buying from is not going to be super helpful for content providers, actually. But it will be for carriers and for other ISPs. I hope that answered the question. And let me go here again. Here was the service uptime. Is it live? Yeah. Okay. And where are we? Sorry. There we go. So the next thing I'm going to talk briefly about is protection. And I'm mostly bringing it in because protection is another area that is crucial to keeping your services up. Obviously, you are not protecting the over-the-top service providers. They're doing that themselves, but you need to protect your own infrastructure, and you can do that with a DDoS protection tool like we have, or with others. And where does that bring us? I'm a little bit fast today. It basically brings us back to the slide where we were talking about the service uptime is contributed with the short and reliable supply chain that you find out by diving into which services are the customers using, how are they served, how can you connect well to those who are serving those services, and how can you monitor that they're always up and running and fix it quickly if they're not. And the knowledge about the service uptime on a global basis and the protection, all of that will help you being quickly to fix problems when when you have them in the network. And all of it is part of the observability that is the Kentik platform. When you're using network observability, you are able to ask any question about your network, and you're able to get questions asked about your network that you did not necessarily know that you have, and then get the answers, and that will help you run your network. And yeah, I was a little fast, I think, but I'd like to open up for questions and comments, and I'm happy to go back and dive deeper into any of the topics that I've shared here, if anybody have more questions.
We did have a couple more come in the chat. So the first one was, what is the difference between global agents and agents in my network? And why should I care about the status of OTT services seen from networks other than my own?
Yeah, so private agents are agents that you set up inside your own network, and you're the only one who can use them for tests. And you can use those to monitor both services inside your network, but in particular services outside of your network that customers will want to use. The global agents are available for everybody that are using the Kentik tool to set up tests, and you can use them both to test services that you run in your network you want to have tested from outside of your network, but also as an indicator on quickly when you have an issue with a test to an OTT service from one of your private agents, if the public monitoring from the global agents says that that service is up and running and there are no issues there, maybe it's time that you start to dive into the issues that you're seeing on the test from the private agent. But in general, private agents are only for your use. Global agents, you can use them and everybody can use them, and we're using them in the global monitoring of the most popular OTT services.
Awesome. And the next question was, do I need a tool to monitor my network elements?
No, you don't need another tool to do that. The Kentik tool could do that too. I just have not taken that into this presentation because I wanted to focus on the services that the customers and the customer happiness. In reality, the customer doesn't really care whether your network gear is up or not, if they can't feel or if there have no consequences for them, whether it's up or not. But obviously, for you to run an efficient network, you want to know what's going on your network, on your network gear, and you want to monitor that, and that is part of the tool as well, just not covered in this presentation.
So yeah, it looks like we're just about coming up on time here. So we appreciate everyone for joining in today, and we've covered a lot of material. So thank you, Nina, for presenting. So this Lunch and Learn was recorded, so you can review a replay of it on our website. That is Kentik.com, and please share it with your interested colleagues. So also in the next couple of days, you'll get an email from us so you can review the content, get a link to the recording, and get any additional information you'd like. So if you have further questions, please email us at webinars@kentik.com. Again, that's webinars@kentik.com. So thank you all again for joining the Lunch and Learn, and we hope to see you all again soon.
Yes, thank you for coming all.